Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Josh or Milky, and in today's video we're going to be doing a build guide on my latest Falling Thunder Invoker setup, talking about why not Hollow Palm, what are the differences, can you go Flicker, all those kind of things, how do you progress, some crafting things. I'm going to try and fit it all into one video, so it's going to be quite a heavily, it's going to be an information heavy video. First of all, answering the obvious question, why am I now playing Tempest Flurry instead of Ice Strike? And the simple answer is, with enough attack speed, Tempest Flurry moves faster than you would if you were walking. Now, mana is an issue. We solved that with Leech, so I can't really show you too much in the hideout because I've run out of mana. But when we're leeching, this is something that's very easy to manage, and you'll have infinite mana. And then that obviously allows us to speed up, and it gives us a way to scale our speed that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. And we do that in many different ways. So that's why we swap on over to Tempest Flurry, and you can't really do that until you've got a significant amount of attack speed, otherwise it's just going to feel a little bit clunky. But on top of that, it also has a little bit more coverage than Ice Strike. Ice Strike, you kind of hit the first mob, and then if you're using Shattering Palm or Herald of Ice, then that mob explodes, maybe kills the next mob, but then you have to work your way through kind of a large amount of mobs. But with Tempest Flurry, because you have all these strikes coming down, combined with the Crescendo 3 support, you get a ton of beams coming down, then you have Herald of Thunder coming down, you have your Charge Staff coming out. It really does just obliterate everything. And then if you want, you obviously have your nuclear buttons like Falling Thunder or Flicker Strike, whichever you choose to use. So it just ends up being much better for the build. Now you're saying, Milky, you want to scale all this attack speed. Wouldn't Hollow Palm be the obvious choice? And you've probably seen builds that are using Hollow Palm with this kind of setup. And the answer is absolutely. You can definitely go Hollow Palm in this setup. It's a fantastic choice. For me personally, I like doing like the really pinnacle content. I want to do all the like endgame bosses, Simulacrum 4, really juiced up maps. I did some of the maps with the full abyss maps with the difficulty scales with pit closed, and it does get quite difficult. And that's with my damage, and I know that using a staff is obviously just substantially more damage than Hollow Palm. What Hollow Palm has, the staff doesn't, is additional speed. So I don't like the power trade-off personally, but if you're someone that doesn't really want to go into those super endgame content, or maybe eventually you can on those setups, I will stay with the quarterstaff. Maybe I'll investigate Hollow Palm in the future though. I plan on playing this league for a long time, so I will certainly give Hollow Palm a fair shake. But as of right now, I'm going to take the power over a staff over Hollow Palm. So now the question you might be asking is, should you play Flicker Strike or Falling Thunder? And my honest answer is, pick your poison. The thing about Falling Thunder is kind of you've got to love the skill, and a lot of people do. It's a very fun skill to use. Obviously, you smash the ground, all the projectiles come up, you blow all the mobs up off screen, and you can obviously get salvo on there to make the projectiles go in every direction. It's a very fun button to press, and Flicker, obviously a fan favorite. People have been playing Flicker in Path of Exile 1 for many years, and it's just a very fun button to press. Zip around the map, kill everything. So you can really choose either. You can even choose both if you were to cut the Hand of Chiula from this particular setup. But there's not really, in terms of power, both are fine. Flicker's going to get you through the map faster. Falling Thunder is going to allow you to have maybe a little bit more coverage and a bit more control if you don't like that kind of Flicker playstyle. Falling Thunder does have a couple of drawbacks though. One is going to be terrain. There are so many stupid rocks, trees, holes on the map, and if you hit your Falling Thunder onto one of those things, it eats your projectiles. So Falling Thunder can be very frustrating in a lot of maps. If you've seen one of your favorite streamers try out Falling Thunder, I almost guarantee they've run into that problem and then swapped off of it. It really is. You have to be in it for the love of the game when you're using Falling Thunder, because it gets incredibly frustrating. That's why most people just use it to kill bosses rather than as a clear skill. But on this setup with our power charge generation, you can use either of these pretty much as often as you like, because we're getting so many charges back from our setup. So what are the setups to gain power charges if you want to use one of these finisher skills, we'll call them? Well, first of all, we're using a cast on crit setup that uses Profane Ritual, which is an occult skill that destroys a corpse and gives you a power charge. This is very common. Obviously, I did a lot of this in 0.1 when we were going back and forth between Combat Frenzy and Profane as they were buffing and nerfing each of them. But we settle now on the best endgame setup, in my opinion, being Profane Ritual attached to cast on critical. With Corpse Conservation, Charge Profusion, Overabundance, Swift Affliction, this shortens the duration so you get back those charges faster. And Charge Profusion actually has a very interesting new line this season where it says, supported skills have 15% chance to grant an additional charge, those being, of course, Endurance charges and Frenzy charges, which we can use both of in order to scale our charge regulation. So this skill, if you've not seen it before, it grants you an amount of critical hit chance, more defense, and more skill speed while you have each of the charges respectively. So the biggest one, of course, is 15% more skill speed. When you have a frenzy charge, you're going to be moving around 15% faster with your Tempest Flurry, which is obviously phenomenal. 26% more critical hit chance, beautiful. I love that. 20% more defense while we're scaling a hell of a lot of evasion, and energy shield in this build, so that doesn't go amiss either. So ends up being a beautiful combination for this build, but it isn't always up for us because this requires us to have monsters corpses to destroy. So we do have an alternative, which is going to be the Hand of Chiula. Now, some people like to use Staggering Palm here. Personally, I haven't found it to be necessary. It isn't needed. Like on some setups, like the Hollow Palm setups, they use it like for more clear. I haven't really felt that to be quite necessary for my build, so I go with Hand of Chiula linked with Sniper's Mark for more on-demand frenzy charges for that 15% more skill speed. Just gives you more uptime. Sometimes Profusion, Profane Ritual can be a bit annoying. You know, it's a 15% chance to get an extra charge. It's not always going to be up, but this gives you on-demand frenzy charges. Assuming that the cooldown of your Sniper's Mark is back up, you're going to get a frenzy charge every time. And we link this with Rapid Attacks and Charge Profusion. Again, just more charges. The more we can get, the better. But then a very interesting combo is Culmination and Aelith's Charms. Culmination allows this skill to gain combo points, which would in turn allow it to do more damage, but that's not what we're interested in. What we're interested in here are the Aelith's Chimes, This gives 10% chance to gain a power charge when expending combo with support skills per combo expended. This chance can exceed 100%. So for every 10 combo points you have when you attack with this skill, you will gain a power charge. And if you have 15, then you'll have 50% chance to gain a second, and so on, so forth. So this is a great way to get power charges against single target. In things like Simulacrum, where you can't get corpses, map bosses, you name it. This is a way to get guaranteed on-demand power charges and guaranteed on-demand frenzy charges from Sniper's Mark. So this setup is really nice. It does mean we have to cut the Tempest spell from the build, but honestly, the amount of damage you have on this setup, you don't need it. It's not needed at all. Then the rest of the skills we have, of course, are Charge Staff. This gives us 2 to 40 with 26 levels. The 6 from our staff takes us up to 2 to 40 added quarterstaff attack lightning damage per power charge. Brilliant. So 6 times that, 12 to 240 additional lightning damage, and we get that additional shockwave that does a decent amount of damage, and this buff lasts about a minute. You don't have to worry about pressing it all that often. Then Wind Dancer, this is going to be linked with Maim and Pin. Forgive these 3 slots here. I was initially trying out the Eyeless Charms on this, but ended up settling on the Hand of Chiula. Then Herald of Thunder, we have Magnified Area, Lightning Mastery, Ambush, Elemental Armament, and Blind. It's just really nice to have this extra kind of proliferation of our damage, just doing some extra bolts, killing more things. This does do a relatively good amount of damage at, 241% of our attack damage. So certainly doesn't go amiss and does clean up some mobs that we otherwise would have left behind. Then we have Charge Regulation, as we spoke about, and then our only source of true energy shield recovery in this build, unless you want to run Meditate, is Ghost Dance. This of course gets better and better depending on how much evasion you have, but it's going to give you 7% of your evasion as energy shield every time you dodge. I have 17,900 in map. Obviously I have 20% more, so that's going to be like 1,400-ish energy shield every single time I evade. So those are the skills. There are obviously a lot of different changes you can make. If you want to go Flicker, this is the setup that I've been using. Flicker Strike, Rage Forge, Pinpoint Critical, Close Combat, Concentrated Area, Culmination, because then you just use it as more of a bomb. And that's the setup. Now, we didn't speak about this supports on the most important skill, which is going to be Tempest Flurry. And there's a reason I have Rage Forged in both of my finishing skills, and that's because we're using Rage 3, we're using Rigwald's Ferocity, Rapid Attacks, all to give us as much attack speed as possible. So Rage 3 gives 15% more attack speed while you're not at maximum rage. We can spend rage with our finishing move to, just get rid of all the rage, or get rid of 10 of the rage, and then we're not at cap. And you might think, well, don't you just immediately build back to full? Not really, because the way Tempest Flurry works, obviously you have your melee attack that's right in front of you, and then you have the beams coming down, and then you have charge staff shockwaves going out as well. You'd be surprised. Unless you're right on top of the mobs, you're typically not going to be gaining all the rage from this. Then Rigwald's requires you to be on weapon set 1 in order to gain 20% more attack speed. Lovely. Rapid attacks, 25% increased attack speed. Crescendo 3 is just an incredible support gem. If you don't know what this does, when you're ancestrally boosted, 1, you do more damage, you have more area of effect, but you also summon 2 additional like mirage dudes that do the strike as well. And for Tempest Flurry, that means you get additional beams to come down, so you just get more coverage. This gem is absolutely insane on this skill. And then Inspiration Efficiency it's called now, because your mana cost gets absurd with all these levels and the amount of times you're attacking per second. It gets kind of ridiculous. So that's all the skills. I hope they all make sense. If you have any questions about any of this at any point, do leave it in the description. I'll try and answer it, or someone will, I'm sure, if I miss them. So next we'll go into the Ascendancy and the skill tree. For the Ascendancy, there are a lot of choices with Invoker. He's got a lot of good nodes. Lead Me Through Grace is an absolute must, so we can get enough spirit to activate all those gems I was talking about, which we end up needing 211 spirit. For whatever reason, the cast on crit quality that says it reduces the cost by 10% actually only reduces it by 9. So yeah, we need 211 spirit in order to activate all of our auras. Then I have I Am the Blizzard, I Am the Thunder, and Sunder My Enemies. You can easily swap one of these two out for Meditate. I don't personally feel like I've needed it, but I do have a Headhunter on. If you didn't have a Headhunter, perfectly reasonable to pick up Meditate just for that extra defensiveness, especially if you have a decent energy shield pool. I have 4,500. And then Unbound Avatar you can spec for bosses for an extra, you just button your compress to do a ton more damage. If you need that for bosses, if you're struggling with damage against bosses, particularly obviously the pinnacle bosses that you'd go out the map for, where you can plan your build in advance, then you can take Unbound Avatar for that. Then for the tree, the name of the game here is to click every single attack speed node. So down here, Agile Succession, tenfold attacks, flow state, we're up here with Deep Trance. We've come up to grab the Jewel Socket for our Heart of the Well that has damages extra, crit chance, evasion, some ailment threshold. Best in slot would be double damages extra, evasion, and probably crit, or like skill speed or something like that. There's a lot of really, really good ones of these. Then of course we want to click a lot of the crit nodes as well. That's next in the order. Then we want to click a lot of increased damage, because we don't get a ton of increased damage on this build, so getting it from the tree is great. And then we have some quarterstaff stuff over here. I end up not taking Moment of the Storm just because our power charge generation is so insanely good. The crit nodes leading up to it are nice though. We just can't find the points. And then the rest of it just goes into evasion. Basically, evasion, energy shield, subterfuge mash, brilliant, spectral ward, insane, and then inner faith. Also reducing the effect of things like temp chain on you. And then we also come down and grab unhindered. Now, this bit, don't be too alarmed. This is a very expensive jewel. You don't need it. It's not essential. It's very strong, obviously, because it allows you to get so much more out of your time lost. I choose to use a 4% attack speed time lost here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 4 is giving me 32% increased attack speed from this jewel, which is of course very nice, as well as the evasion rating, giving me 24% increased evasion rating. So you can look for something like this. If you don't have this, you can just take these points and spec into the Daze nodes instead until you get the jewel. And then come down and grab this node, Bestial Skin, for a ton more evasion. It does really help with your survivability. Of course, adding more ES recovery from Ghost Dance. And then finally, a little bit of mana cost efficiency, because we attack so fast, we have such a high level of our skills that we just simply need it. And we have it here on Deep Trance as well. So it's a very tight tree. We have a ton of good nodes that we're really, really close to that I would love to take. Things like melding, insightfulness, dampening shield, pure energy, critical exploit. I would love to come up and grab lightning quick. I just unspec this because I realized I shouldn't be up there really. Chakra of breathing's amazing. We could even maybe go CI in the future. There's just so many good nodes on this part of the tree. Even Chakra of Rhythm for more attack speed and combo points for bossing to get our culmination to deal even more damage. There is so much to do with this tree. But this is what I've settled on for right now. And I will, there will be a weapon swap for Falling Thunder, where you kind of just go into some projectile nodes, maybe preemptive strike. You can even come over and grab First Approach if you want. And if you didn't know, you can actually have a weapon swap by right-clicking this button right here. It's going to make the same weapon on both sets, and then you go through and do your sets that way. So that is the tree. As I say, a lot to iterate on it. I'm happy with where it is right now, but there's certainly a chance I iterate on this in the future. But very content with where it is right now. As for where it gets me, as I said, 65% evasion, 4.5k energy shield, 1500 life, and then I haven't even worried about chaos res, which may like ring some alarm bells for people. I don't know what to say. I just haven't had any issue with chaos damage. Eventually, I do have room on my gear to kind of replace some stuff and get chaos resistance, so I could cap it on this setup, so we don't need to go CI. But I'm this deep into the game, done all the content, haven't needed chaos res, so I don't know what to say about that one. So now we come on to the fun part, which is going to be the bit where we go over my gear. My gear is exceptionally good, but just so you know, I very much have overkill damage for the entire game. You do not need gear even close to as good as mine. For the longest time, I wasn't even running this amulet. Like, I only put it on today, and I could still do every bit of content in the game. I did a Simulacrum 4 with no amulet and no belt, and a worse weapon than this by like 15%. So you're good. Like, you don't need the craziest gear in the world. The minimum requirements, I would say, to get this build going is going to be your 6 links, 211 spirit, I'd say like between like at least 7.5 APS on your Tempest Flurry, or more ideally, so that you feel good moving around, and then a decent energy shield pool of maybe like 3k plus, and you're gonna be absolutely golden on this setup. You can have like, even if you have like 40-50k Tempest Flurry tooltip, that's absolutely fine. You're going to be doing enough damage to just destroy the game. You can have an Ingenuity on instead of a Headhunter if you don't have that. These are very cheap. You can even just use a belt to cap your resistances. There's many alternatives to what I'm running, so let's start with it. This is the weapon that I'm choosing to run right now. Eventually, this would ideally be Fizz and Fizz on the prefixes. You can see right now it's Wed, Fire, and Fizz. Ideally, it would be T1 Fizz and T1 Flat Fizz with the same suffixes. But this is what I've managed to craft so far because it had 3 sockets. Shout out Crouching Tuna, who I bought this base off of. And the way that you craft this is you actually need to start with a base like this. I will do some crafting as I go just to demonstrate some examples of how to make the items that I have. In the example of the weapon, you need to start with a blue base on a Lunar Quartz staff that has Wed and crit chance. Then you can essence attack speed for a guaranteed 3 mod that looks like this, and it's already looking pretty good, right? And it doesn't stop there. What we next do is we would want to use a preserved jawbone for a guaranteed prefix, which I'll have to grab out of here. I have one, yep. Sinestral Necromancy, that's the one. So we grab a guaranteed prefix. Then we need to fracture. The reason you fracture here is not 100% necessary, but it does allow for some creativity if we manage to hit a specific mod. If we hit the elemental damage with attacks, very good. We did. So we have a good example of a weapon to show it. So I'm going to go and reveal this modifier. So reveal, if you manage to hit something good here, fantastic. You're probably not going to though. It doesn't matter. Whatever you add here is getting removed on the next step. Okay, so this is what your staff's going to look like. If you don't have the Wed, this next part is a 50-50, okay? It just is what it is. You have to hit this 50-50 or you start again. So what you would do is you use an Omen of Sinistral Crystallization, meaning that the next essence you use will guaranteed remove a prefix. In my case, it can only remove the lightning damage. If you don't fracture the Wed, it can remove the Wed or the lightning damage, which would of course be a brick if it removed the Wed. So we do this, and we get a guaranteed +6 level to all attack skills. Then we can slam, which we can we would need to slam here. So you don't want to use a perfect. You don't need to use a homogenizing or anything like that. This is complete YOLO. You could technically block with a desecrated modifier, but it doesn't really help with the rest of the craft. There's 2 different ways you could take it. I would slam first. I hit accuracy. Woe is me. And then I would use a perfect essence of electricity to add this gain. What does it say? Gain damage as extra lightning damage. It's up to 33% damage as extra lightning damage. Guaranteed. Boom. If you don't have the Wed, then you kind of have to stick with whatever you slam. So we would have bricked it because we would have hit accuracy right. As I said, there are brick cases here. Fracturing the wed is an incredibly good outcome and is why I was able to get it to this point. And then, of course, you would just want to jawbone it again. And then I'll see if I have any rerolls. I do. And see what we get. Best case scenario here would be obviously T1 physical damage. But any high flat damage is incredible for what we're going for. So click on this and let's unveil. And we got a low tier of lightning. This is a reroll. And yeah, so this would be a go again. I would take the cold damage, but you'd absolutely want to go again here. But this would be perfectly fine, right? Like, this is by no means a bad staff. And you can always replace that cold damage later on with an Omen of Light to guarantee remove that modifier. So pretty easy craft, as long as you just have to survive one 50-50 and then you have a slam into a usable mod. You can see here the usable mod I hit was the fire damage. I think I actually whittled once to hit the fire damage, so that's an option too, but obviously it starts to get expensive. So there are options available to you with how you progress from the 4 modifier state. So that would be the weapon. Then the helmet is just a very standard energy shield helmet with critical hit chance and resistance. You can also get rarity on your helmet. It's perfectly fine. The more energy shield you have on your helmet, obviously the better, because you have subterfuge mask, which is going to give you 2 evasion per energy shield. That's why we go for a pure energy shield helmet. For the body armor, very important that you get enough evasion and energy shield. It's something like 1250 evasion rating and 470 energy shield, whatever it is, to get enough spirit in order to play the gems that I have. And the rest, you would ideally get resistances or stats. You can even get deflection. I haven't got deflection on any of my gear, unfortunately, but deflection will be perfectly fine. Res is a bit tight though. You do need to get res somewhere, so getting it on your body armor here is not bad by any means. For the rings, res, rarity, flat damage. That's all you want. You want as much rarity as you can get, with as much res as you need to cap your res, and then as much flat damage after that. Crafting these, I don't know. I haven't crafted rings yet. You may have to buy these. I got lucky with this one. I actually dropped it, so I can't really complain. I dropped it pretty much as is and then just unveiled the cold. But you basically want res, flat damage, rarity. You do need 1 leech physical damage as mana on one of your rings. That's the only caveat to what I just said. You need 1 leech roll in order to leech your mana with the Walker of the Wilds. Then we move on to the gloves. I have a video on my channel about crafting these gloves. They are considerably more expensive than when I crafted these. You may need to settle for something a bit worse that doesn't give you as much attack speed, or just try get levels, flat damage, resistances. Just get as much damage as you can from your gloves, and then maybe work towards crafting a pair of these in the future. I probably will recraft these, but it's going to be an extremely difficult recraft to get levels, attack speed, and effective socketed items, because obviously now we're Tempest Flurry, I would like to move faster, but that is a considerably difficult craft, considerably more difficult craft than the video on my channel. So if you can make these, go for it. If not, get a pair of gloves with as much damage as possible. The best base type is actually hybrid. This is just what I happen to hit for this item. Then boots, you want as much move speed as you can get. Despite obviously Tempest Flurrying around, you don't always have enough mana to cast it, and you still just want move speed in between. So that if you're like just sprinting around to pick loot up, or you're just sprinting around, you can sprint Falling Thunder, and in between all these, you will gain enough power charges back to just keep doing this over and over again. So you definitely want move speed. Then again, you've got that effective socketed items for more move speed, and then defense modifiers, res, any stats you may need. You do need to have a defensive mod to actually make these boots, if you do them the way that Spicy Sushi did. But ultimately, I would actually prefer that energy shield recharge to be something else. If I could choose, I would certainly remove the recharge rate and maybe get a res. Or chaos res would be brilliant, obviously, because we're ignoring it right now. Then for charms, I'm using Nascent Hope. Just if you get frozen, it starts your energy shield recharge. I'm just using a stone charm and a golden charm. That didn't really put much. It's like what it is, right? You don't want to get stunned. Eventually, you would want the Rite of Passage with the cat modifier. And then I would always stick with a stone charm. You can also put on a bleed charm for certain situations, because obviously we don't have much life and bleed goes through your ES, so you may want that. And then finally, for the amulet, I used Serpent's Egg all the way up until today. Did all the content in the game with this. You can too. But if you are willing, you can craft one of these amulets relatively cheap. You can also buy them for cheap. I've been crafting a ton of them, and they are hardly turning a profit now. This is another one of the good ones I managed to make. But basically, how you make these, I can't show the entire craft because I just don't have the materials. But if you can do a bit of the theater of the mind with me right now, we have an item here that has an attack modifier and a crit modifier. The only other two modifiers of that type on this item in the suffixes are critical damage bonus and melee skill level. So if you perfect exalt two suffixes, two guaranteed suffixes, you will always get critical damage bonus and melee skill level. Okay, so you would have the bottom half of this item completely done and finished. Then you could use the same omen we used earlier to guarantee remove the prefix, which is accuracy. And you can use the essence of enhancement to guarantee add global defenses. Then the next step is to use, if I have any, the catalyst, the defense catalyst, and then you have something like the catalyzing omen, which I'll show right here. Catalyzing omen, so it's more likely to hit a defense modifier, and this is like the RNG step in all of this. You just have to slam and hope with that catalyst and the homogenizing, catalyzing, slam a prefix. Right. Because you can hit spell damage, it does share a tag with crit damage, and you can hit armor, which of course has a defense tag. So this is the bit where you can break. There are 3 good outcomes with evasion, percent energy shield, and flat energy shield. There are 2 bad outcomes with spell damage and armor. And then you would just unveil the final modifier. So not particularly difficult to craft, but you do have to get some amount of luck on that 5th modifier. But you can get 4 modifiers. You get 5 modifiers for absolutely free. So, well, not free, but guaranteed, at least. So yeah, good luck with that if you decide to craft that. That's enough for the crafting in this video. Headhunter, as I said, you can use Ingenuity. You can use Resistance Belt. Headhunter is absolutely broken beyond belief. Get one if you can. But outside of that, use Ingenuity or a Rare Belt. So that is everything. Now let's talk about the boss setup. So for bossing, you would of course want to change your gems on Falling Thunder because, well, Perpetual Charge, Ricochet, and Salvo are doing pretty much nothing. All you want to do on bosses is build a ton of combo points. I'd elect not to spec into Chakra of Rhythm or to use Practiced Combo because I just don't need to. I have enough damage. But you could do those things if you need more damage. You would spec Chakra of Rhythm, you would add in Practiced Combo, and then you would hit the boss for like as many combo points as you can within reason, right? Then you would Hand of Chiula to gain all your power charges. Then you would Falling Thunder or Flicker Strike, and the boss will die. Like 100 times out of 100, the boss will just die because you have so many combo points, you have all your power charges, you have all these damage buffs, you have all your 5 support gems. It's just a one-shot on everything. So there we are. Quite a long one. I hope this video helps you with this build if you elect to play it. I hope I answered any burning questions you may have had regarding the build. If I missed anything, please, please, please ask me in the comments. Despite my the odd mistakes I make on the guide, the wrong gem here and there, I do want to give you good builds, and despite those random gems here and there, I hope you feel like I have done so, and I hope this video helped you as well. And I'll see you next time.